Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Christine Javier, and today I'm working on Free Code Camp's Find the Longest Word in a String algorithm, where you're given an argument of a string and you just have to return the length of the longest word. Today you're going to be looking at the split method and string.length as reference. And today I'm going to solve it in two ways. One, which is I would consider more basic, and another one that's slightly more fancy because it involves the sort method. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm just going to copy this function here and work on my text editor. All right, so let's see. Cool. And I'm just going to set my console.log over here already for the argument, just so I have that prepared when we run. Cool. Okay, so let's see. Now, the first thing you want to do is to split the string, and by doing that, you're creating an array. So whenever I get an algorithm that involves a string that I have to change somehow or investigate in some way, I like to split it into an array so that I could iterate through every single word and manipulate each element of that array, each word somehow. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that. I'm just going to set it to str. And this is the thing with a split syntax. So if you just left it like that with the two quotes directly next to each other without a space, it's going to separate each individual character. So I could just show you how that looks. Here we go. Take out that semicolon. Cool. As you could see, yeah, every single character, including the spaces, are just broken and individualized. So what you want to do is add in a space so that instead of individualizing each letter, you're individualizing each word and putting that into an array. So that's how it would look like. Cool. And from here, I just want to, I want to set a variable actually. I'm going to call it var longest word. I'm going to set that equal to 0, and that's going to act as our counter. And you'll see what I mean by counter in a second. So now that we have this array, I want to investigate each and every single word and see how many characters, what's the length of each word really. So that would involve a for loop. And I'll just set the iterator to I is less than str.length. All right, so now I'll just write an if statement because what my goal here is I'm going to ask the question, is each iteration greater than longest word? Like, is the length of that? So with the very first element, the length is going to be 3. I'm going to ask, okay, if this element is greater than, the length of this element greater than 0, then I'm going to set this element's length to longest word, and then longest word is now going to become 3. And I'm just going to iterate through with that mentality, and then it's going to become, upon the second iteration, okay, what's the length of quick? It is 5. Is that greater than 3? Well, when it becomes 3 after the is iterated through. And then quick's length will be counted as longest word. So I'll just go through and write that out. If str I is dot length is greater than longest word, I'm just going to set longest word equal to str I dot length. Okay, cool. And instead of returning str, what I really want to return is longest word, because it's going to be a counter, and that number is going to transform into the number of the longest length of the word in the string. So in this case, it would be jumped. And I wonder if I could demonstrate that a little more clearly for you. So I'm just going to console.log what longest word equals to as we go through the iterations. And then also stri.length, just so you know what I mean by like drawing the comparison between the counter of longest word and transforming that into stri.length if it's a greater number. So I'm just going to do longest word equal. Okay, so let me go ahead and run this and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, cool. So longest word upon the first iteration is equal to 0. And then upon the second iteration of quick, which equals, or the, I should say, over here, str.length equals 3, and that represents the first iteration on the, and therefore longest word upon the next iteration now equals 3. All right, and then you just go through that mentality because longest word is only going to save what is the biggest number. So it'll come across a case, like let's say from going from brown to fox. The if statement here says if stri.length, which is 3, is greater than longest word, which at this point will have been 5, and that results in false, it's just going to go back into the for loop and iterate on the next word. All right, so that should work. Let me go ahead and test it on FreeCodeCamp though. Cool, it does, it works. Awesome, so that's a pretty intuitive way to approach this, and to me the most cleanly, but if you're looking to practice with more JavaScript methods like I am, then I would recommend finding multiple solutions to one thing. So that's what I'm going to do here now. So this is our first solution using just a basic for loop. But now I want to use something called the sort method. All right, so let's see. I'm just going to start from this point here. Now, again, I want to, in using the sort method, that's an array method. So I have to turn the string back into an array. And again, that involves a split method. And then just a reminder that you want to add that space in there so that you tackle each individualized word and not just each and every single character. All right, now let's see. So I'm going to use something called the sort method. Str equals str.sort. All right, and what sort does is it sorts. I mean, that sounds like a really shoddy explanation, but essentially, it just puts things in a certain order depending on how you, what you input into the body of this anonymous function here. And just a side note, this doesn't have to be an anonymous function, but I'm just going to go ahead and go with it right now. All right, so let's see. This involves two variables actually, so A and B. All right, so I'm just going to go about this like this: return a.length minus b.length. And this draws the comparison between two different points in the array. So over here, this will be compared to, and the lengths will be subtracted from each other. And it'll just sort it that way. It'll just sort it in such a way that each length is taken into account, and whichever has the biggest length will just be returned. All right, so I'm just going to return str and see what that looks like. Cool. So as you can see, it goes in ascending order. It sorts this by saying, okay, the first one will be 3 characters, the second one 30, 33, and then it progressively gets bigger. So as you can see, it's been ordered according to the quantities of the lengths. All right, and that's going to prove very useful. So let's see. Given that, given the way we know how str looks like at this point, I could just dip in and just always configure that that the very last element of the array will be the longest one. So I'm just gonna return str at the very last element, and this represents the position of the very last element because you're looking at the string length, or the array length, I should say, which is always one more than the positional value of the last element. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is a length of 9, but since you always count the positions of elements starting from 0, you want to subtract 1 so as to target that very last word. Cool. And then We not only want that, we don't only want that very last character, because as you'll see right now, we'll just get that very last character. We instead want to get the length of that very last character. And as you'll see, it's 6, and that holds true. Now, let me just go ahead and quickly clean this up a little bit, because we don't need 2 lines here. We could set this all to 1 line. And I'm just going to do it like this. There you go. So now it's just kind of, well, it's multiple lines because of this anonymous function, but we have 2 methods on 1 line, and that's kind of cool. All right, now I just want to make sure that works again. Cool. I'm just going to copy and paste this into free code camp and see if that works. And it does. Cool. So yeah, that adds in, some extra flavor using that sort method, which I like to use a lot. And yeah, so that's about it. Hopefully this has helped you out. And hopefully you are more excited to, attempt a problem more than once and try to make your answers a little more complex and a little more sleek. All right, have a good day.